A video popped up in my YouTube feed about the mistakes that beginners make with their GoPro. I made a comment that the biggest mistake I'd made was to buy one in the first place, and it wouldn't be happening again. And a few people asked why I said that. I haven't answered yet. I thought it might be easier just to make a quick video. So this video is about my experience with the GoPro Hero 9. This is my only GoPro experience, so I've never previously owned a GoPro and I won't be buying another one. This model was released on the 9th of September 2020. There was a firmware update in December 2020 which improved the Hypersmooth and a few other things. And the Hypersmooth is something I really like. It's not all bad. There are some good features about the camera, but they've just been outweighed by the problems I've had with that. I bought mine on the 5th of May 2021, so that's about 8 months after the camera was released. And when did I start getting problems? It was straight away, as soon as I opened the box. The camera's got a couple of external buttons for power and recording, but the main user interface is the touchscreen, and it just wasn't responsive. I had to keep swiping and swiping several times to get anything to work, and it was really frustrating because the only way you can set things up is through the touchscreen. And that's always the way that GoPro's been, and you think by the 9th generation they would have sorted that out, and there were still problems. Anyway, in June 2021 they released firmware 1.6070, and that fixed the touchscreen. I only had to wait for 1 month, but the people who had bought these when they first came out had to wait 9 months for that fix, which is totally unacceptable. After that, I started getting problems with the camera just freezing for no apparent problem. I go out, I shoot short clips that I intended to edit together later, and the camera would just stop doing anything. It wasn't the touchscreen, it was the internals. It was just non-responsive. The only way to get around that problem was to take out the battery, put it back in again, and if you do that, you've got to take off the media mod first, and it's a bit messing around, not all that convenient. And talking of the media mod, when I first bought the camera, I wasn't expecting to have to buy any accessories, but if you're using an external microphone, you really do need this unless you want to mess around with adapters and a special door with a pass-through USB-C port, and you got to pay another $80 for a media mod. So I had this freezing problem, and I just never knew when it was going to happen, and when it did happen it was really annoying. And there was also an SD card error. It would tell you there's a problem with the SD card and you'd need to reformat the SD card. And it happened on one short trip I took to Bangkok. I was only there a couple of days. I'd been around the Grand Palace, done some video recording, and the following day I got the problem, and it told me that I needed to reformat the card, and that would have meant losing all of my footage. I just ignored the message, and the previous footage was actually okay, but the footage when I got the message couldn't be used. So I was able to use what I'd recorded the previous day, but it's not very reassuring to be told that you need to reformat the SD card. So that I was plagued with those problems for a while. Then they released firmware 1.70, and when I downloaded that, I saw an improvement. And I didn't have any problems, but other people were getting problems with like a green screen of death, like the old Microsoft blue screen of death. And I'm having problems using their Volta, which is the GoPro battery grips. So very soon after 1.70, they released 1.72. This is all around May and June 2022. So about a year after I bought the GoPro. I've been living with those freezing problems and SD card problems all that time, and they finally fixed them in June 2022. And the big problem I had with GoPro isn't actually the the hardware or the firmware. It's their attitude towards customers and their support. I'd been onto them about these freezing problems, and that they never once admitted there was a problem at their ends. It was always, I'm using the wrong SD card, I installed the firmware incorrectly, I shouldn't have done it through the app, I should have done, downloaded it onto an SD card, then loaded it from an SD card. Never their problem, always the customer's problem. And what they prove when they released 1.70 and 1.72 is that it was their problem, because they fixed it. Well, they almost fixed it. So it was their problem all along. And if you do a search on the internet, you'll find lots of people had this problem. So GoPro obviously knew about it, but they weren't going to admit it. They just just snuck it in under the mat where no one notices it, and don't admit to having a problem. And that's the thing that really upset me. So after 1.72, which I still think is the latest version of firmware for the GoPro 9, I don't think there's been a subsequent one. The freezing and SD card problems are much better. I still get them occasionally, but previously, before those firmware fixes, I was getting them all the time. Every time I went out to shoot, I'd get that problem, whereas now it's only occasionally. The next problem was with batteries. When you buy the camera, you get one battery, and it gets through batteries quite quickly. So you do need spares if you go out shooting for a day or even half a day. So I bought a couple more batteries, and after about 11 months, they started to bulge. I'm not sure if it shows up on the video or not, but there's a big bulge either side. It's about 2 millimeters either side, and that you can't physically put the battery into the camera. And once again, I got in touch with GoPro support, and it's nothing to do with their batteries. It's all my fault. I'm using the wrong charger. I'm actually using the GoPro charger. I'm overcharging, or I'm using the batteries too soon after charging them. It's never their fault. It's always the customer's fault. And I've been using digital cameras for years, and not had any problems with batteries. But with GoPro, I get problems, and it's all my fault. So I went out and bought some new batteries, which are the Enduro type, a new type of battery. Now, this is something else that I think GoPro have tried to cover up. A lot of people had this bulging battery problem, and obviously GoPro knew about it. And I think they wanted to fix a problem, but they didn't want to admit having a problem. So they bring out this new Enduro battery, which is seems to be more resistant to bulging, although they are starting to bulge now a little bit, but a lot better. And they don't announce that they've brought it out to sort the bulging problem. They say that they've brought this out because the battery lasts longer. But the battery capacity, the old one and the new one, is exactly the same. It's 1,720 milliamp hours. So how can it last longer if it's exactly the same capacity? And when you look into the details, to get the longer use out of your camera, you've got to upload some you've got to update some firmware, and it will only work on certain video resolutions. So I think what's happened, I think they've increased the efficiency of their codec, or done something there that makes the internal camera processing more efficient and uses less battery power, so you can record more footage. But then they've claimed it's because of this new battery. But I think the reason for the new battery was to fix the bulging problem with the old battery, but they didn't admit it. So this is something else that's upset me. And a few more problems since then. With the media mod, I tend to use the on-off button quite a lot. And Whereas the GoPro camera is waterproof, with the media mod it's not waterproof, it's all weatherproof. So there's some weather sealing and there's some rubber parts just to keep the weather out. And with repeated use of the on-off button, the rubber's broken. And I've looked everywhere and I can't find a replacement part. It's just a little tiny piece of rubber which will cost virtually nothing, but I don't seem to be able to buy that part. So if I want to repair it, I'll need to buy a new media mod, and that's another $80 US. I've had another problem where occasionally I will start recording and the camera will just stop recording after it's about 11 or 12 seconds. Sometimes I notice, sometimes I don't. And on one occasion I was doing a video like this using the GoPro. I'm not using the GoPro for this. And I did a piece talking to camera. I was talking for about 10 minutes and it went really well. Didn't make any of my usual mistakes, didn't need to clear my throat, and I was really pleased with how it went. And then when I looked, I'd only got the first 10 seconds, and that's happened a few times. There's another problem. It's like the hyper smooth just goes crazy. So holding the camera still, the image in front of the camera starts to move around all over the place. That hasn't happened very often, and it can be cured by turning the camera off and turning it back on again. But I've just because of the problems I've had, I've lost faith in the camera, in the hardware and firmware. But much more than that is the attitude of GoPro, that whenever I've reported a problem, they never admit to it being their problem. They always come up with something that I'm doing wrong is causing the problem. But then later on, they will fix the problem. So they know about problems, they work on fixing problems, but they never admit to having those problems. So I've lost faith in GoPro as a company, and that's my biggest gripe. So I won't. It doesn't matter how good the reviews are for future GoPro cameras. I won't be buying any more. If I buy another sort of action camera like this, at the moment I'm not sure whether I will or not. I'll go for the DJI model. They seem to be getting quite good reviews, and the technology seems very good. One of the problems with GoPro is this annual release cycle, where they bring out a new GoPro every September. So they released this one in September 2020, and then by the time all the problems were fixed, that was firmware 1.72, which was June 22. So that's a year and 9 months after it was released that had fixed the problems. And by that time, the GoPro 10 had already been released, and it was almost time to release the GoPro 11, and they're still fixing problems with the GoPro 9. I just don't see the point of doing that. Bring out a camera, do as much testing on it as possible to make it as good as possible when it comes out, and then any problems, get your development team to work on fixing those problems. It seems what happens is that once a camera is released, then all of the development resources go on to the new model that has to be released the next September. There's very little resource to fix problems on cameras that have already been released. Anyway, that's it. That's my gripe with the GoPro. Of course, it's up to everyone what they buy. The GoPro have lost me as one customer. That's probably insignificant to them, but maybe this type of video will deter other people from buying GoPro. I think it's quite unfortunate because, as I said earlier, there are some nice things. The Hypersmooth works really well. The image quality is pretty good in the daytime. It's not fantastic in low light, but it's quite sufficient in the daytime. It's small and compact. It's quite robust. It will withstand knocks. On its own, it's waterproof, so you know it's got a lot of potential there. But the support mechanism behind it isn't really there, which is a little bit sad. Anyway, that's my experience with the GoPro 9.